What's up, Shift Shapers? Welcome to the Shaping the Shift podcast, a pod about change and uncertainty for dreamers, creatives, and folks who just want to get free. I'm your favorite Ride and Thrive, Thea Monye, and I am so happy that you're here. Let's get going. Because what is the purpose in you being a butterfly if you spend your entire life inside of a cocoon? Okay, Shift Shapers. Now, I know we're used to a certain kind of vibe up in here sometimes, but every now and then, we need to bring in some new energy. Energy that keeps us on our toes, that keeps us with the unexpected, and just keeps it very, very real. And that energy is the energy of our mother podcast, Dem Black Mamas. Dem Black Mamas answers all the questions your mama won't. That is the basis of that podcast. From sex and dream catching to adulting and raising free Black children in an unfree world, us, Nikisha Killings, Crystal Tennille Irby, and myself are three Black mama creatives that we give all the Black mama magic your heart can hold while pursuing our own creative dreams. So for those of you who don't know, I'm sure many of you found Shaping the Shift because of Dem Black Mamas, which is why I call it our mother podcast. Like, some people have sister pods, but let's be 100. If Crystal Tennille Irby did not mention the word podcast to me, I would still be on the late freight and still be pretty resistant to even starting my own podcast. And it's because of that podcast that I even was involved in All Heart. So I have to give credit where credit is due, that Dem Black Mamas really paved the way for this podcast. And so it felt right to bring my Dem Black Mamas family here on Shaping the Shift to discuss a very important topic that we really haven't dove into that much, which is the election, right? Now, we've known it's coming, and we've talked about all sorts of wonderful things in the last 2 months that we are focused on, and we're shaping the after, and we're shaping what comes even after this election. And these are the two people who get me through many a crunch. And I think this election feels pretty crunchy for most of us. If you don't know Crystal Tennille Irby, I call her a cultural psychic. She calls herself a cultural producer, but she is the executive producer of our podcast. It's her dream baby, and Nikisha and I were very fortunate to be brought in. She's also a doula and a writer and a mother and just all sorts of amazing, amazing things. And Nikisha Killing as well is a mama bear with her own 4 cubs and a lactation beast, an advocate in the birthing world, and is currently known as the Aha Moment Maven on Instagram, carving out her own piece of the pie to make sure we're dealing with anti-racism work in lactation consulting. So I wanted to bring these two amazing women here and have a very candid, raw, authentic conversation. We get crazy, we go off script. Thank God, Nikisha always brings us back, but we always get to a place where we can move forward, feel better about whatever crazy, unpredictable thing we're facing, and remember who we are. Here is an episode that is a mashup of the beautiful, intentional chaos of Dem Black Mamas and the efforts to combine our love for joy, pleasure with uncertainty and change here on Shaping the Shift. I hope you enjoy. And more than anything, I hope this episode brings you some laughter and some peace of mind heading into next week's election. Welcome to Shaping the Shift, bitches. I promised these two that I was going to start the show this way because today, I know y'all been waiting for this because half of them came from DBM. DBM, fed free child. Y'all just been slowly coming to Shaping the Shift, bringing us some love. But actually the timing and everything was like, duh, and rung out in my head perfectly. Like, we have to do a Dem Black Mamas Shaping the Shift mashup. It's the only thing I could think of to prepare us for the election. Now, it's like we Megatron this shit, right? Is that Megatron? Is that a Transformer?
I think it is.
Yes, Megatron is a Transformer.
Okay, what was the Power Ranger one called when they would come together and be like one big type of dinosaur.
I didn't watch the Power Rangers. I could not bear the bad acting.
Power Rangers was amazing to me. I loved the Power Rangers.
It was such terrible acting. I just
With
could
Zach.
not.
Zach was the Black Ranger. There was a lot of things back then that I didn't understand. The Black Ranger wore black and was black, and then Yellow Ranger, it was a little too on the nose. I didn't catch it.
It was always on the
nose. Time
nose.
about gender norms and things of that nature, but I know better now.
Even the writing was on the nose. Like it was.
I didn't really pay too much attention to the writing. I was in it for the action scenes.
The action was pretty bad.
The action was pretty bad. Bottom line.
Yeah.
I had to morph into 3 Black women in order to tackle this topic. I didn't feel like one Black woman was sufficient to get us through these 2020s elections. And these are the 2 that talked me back into the country after 2016. These are the 2 that I stayed for. So I figured we need to come together again, y'all.
My bad. That was not the intention. My bad.
I don't know how I did that because I was trying to get out myself.
I'm sorry.
Well, if anything, Dem Black Mamas really had been definitely a twinkle in Crystal's eye. It was a seedling in her mind.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that election lit quite a fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to start months before the election. And y'all are like, oh, okay, well, let's look at 2017.
What's a podcast?
I don't know. And I was like, oh, we should go. And y'all was like, we'll do it 2017. We'll do it. I think we're going to do summer 2017.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, we'll do summer 2017. We'll wait. So it was like, I probably started thinking about doing it. I think I brought the idea to you all early 2016. Early 2016. It was early.
You definitely prime.
It was on a retreat in 2015.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Why am I even trying to pretend I'm the resident Scorpio here? Scorpio, can you read back the records for us, please?
And then I had started to gather. I had all the information, how to do it and everything, early 2016.
You were so excited.
Yeah, I was really excited.
We were not.
We did not know anything about a podcast. So one thing you should know about Crystal Tennille Irby is that she identifies as a cultural producer, but she's also a cultural psychic. She can see things happening trend-wise, culture-wise, ahead of the curve. So obviously she was bringing something to us that we were like, the fuck is this, right?
Yeah. How does it even work?
Well, because it's the only production medium that doesn't require a production house. You don't have to go through a corporation per se to release your material. Like if you want to do a movie, if you want to do a book, if you want to do a TV show, a radio show, you have to go through these huge corporations in order to have your material released, unless you're just going to release it on YouTube and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And so podcasts were the best and at that point YouTube wasn't even accessible as podcast, because podcast is just straight audio.
Mm-hmm.
And so YouTube, you got a video, you got to set up all that stuff. And so to me, it just seemed like the thing with the least amount of control.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always attracted to the medium that has the least amount of control and regulation, because oppressed people have always used those formats in order for their creativity, for movements and things like that. So, I was just like, why is this? I was shocked that there were no Black podcasts. There was one, Marta Mia, and I don't think she's a mom, but that was the only one that I could find and she had 5 episodes, maybe not even a lot of episodes. And I thought I was going to find a bunch, and I did not. I was stunned.
And now,
yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, because you're a cultural psychic. Now the future has come to pass. We are
Everybody and their mama has a podcast now.
Yeah. And so I understand the value of it so differently now.
And corporations are buying them now.
Yes. Yes.
And corporations are acquiring podcast specific mediums, right? So SiriusXM just bought Pandora. Now Pandora has a deal with the NBA. Michelle Obama's podcast is on Spotify, and Spotify is buying up everything. And then there's Nicole Richie has It's kind of like a podcast show or whatever. I forgot what it's Illuminary.
Thought she was about to say Illuminati. It was about to get real up in here.
No, so Illuminary, like you pay for the podcast on there. So brands have their own podcast. So yeah.
No, yeah, it was definitely the right move. And we humbly, and I do say humbly, because we often refer back to that first episode. And Kristen doesn't like to talk about it because she does all the sound and stuff for us. And she prepared us as best as she could.
It was so horrible.
But the weave was something.
The weave tracks were showing. However, it couldn't erase, it couldn't dampen our voices and our energy. And we came together for the first time after 45 was elected.
Ooh.
And that was rough.
It wasn't. We've had way more radical episodes.
No. I'm not saying the episode was rough. I'm saying like the process was rough. And that's what made me feel like,
for sure,
we are back here because we've been through rough times together in terms of election, in terms of things of that nature. And so I really thought it would be great to bring you ladies here because this is a question I didn't get to ask Adrienne Maree Brown, but I think actually works out really perfectly for us to answer here, right? Is when we think about, she has a podcast called Preparing for the End of the World, something along those lines. And it's about the apocalypse, right? And so when we think about this particular election, like people are definitely, how do you say it? Apocalyptic. They're that about it. They really feel like it's a make or break thing, right?
Yeah.
And so
on both sides.
And so there's part of me that's like, I don't know if it's worth our time or energy to be like, no, it's not the end of the world. What if it is apocalyptic? What if it is? What if it is the end of something, right? Then what? Because I do want our listeners here on Shaping the Shift to be thinking about, okay, if we think it's the end of something, what would we think it's the end of? Some people have said democracy, but then that democracy, has that always worked for everyone? I know that's kind of a heavy question, y'all, but
it is. Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that? About leaning into it being the end of something and then thinking, well, then what are we shaping? And is it the end of something? Like, is that an accurate feeling or description?
I've always felt like this presidency was the end of something. Always. I think when 2016 happened, there was a couple of things floating around talking about Nostradamus and his predictions. And he predicted that Obama would be the last president, or gave some nuanced references that people have interpreted as Obama being the last president. So I always felt like this guy coming in will be the dawn of a new era, and not in a good way, but the dawn of an ending of a thing. And we find ourselves now just a few short weeks shy of the election where this person is literally saying, I can't tell you I'm going to leave if I'm voted out. I can't say that for sure. And we're seeing uprisings happen around the country that lend itself to folks supporting him in that notion, right? So
stand back and stand by.
Well, and the hit on the governor of Michigan,
Whitmer, right? Where we're setting up entire coups against state government, not we, but they. That's a sign that things won't ever quite be the same.
So it's time. We're overdue. Every 50 years, America changes in a drastic way. All empires fall. And so it's time. It's definitely the end of something. But it's time for it to be the end of something.
What does that mean to us, though? I'm worried about that. You know what I mean? Those who aren't in power. What does that mean when the empire falls?
Well, what it can mean is an opportunity to build. I'm quite sure, I know for a fact, that all enslaved people did not welcome the Emancipation Proclamation. It could be a very scary thing. The unknown could be a very scary thing. Sometimes the devil feels a lot better. But this is, I think, one of the most frustrating things for me when we talk about history is that we completely gloss over Reconstruction. And we could learn, even if we don't have the infrastructure that they had then, we could learn so much from that era because it was the end of something. And our ancestors were way more oppressed than we are now.
Yeah.
And they did the unimaginable. And what we can learn from that is not only what they did, how they built, and all those things, because now we're light years ahead of that, right? Like our minds have evolved and our bodies and everything have evolved. So we're light years ahead of that, right? So we can take that information, alchemize it, and turn it into something else. But the other thing that we can learn from that, which is something that I'm really watching right now, is we now have a blueprint of how America responds to things, right? And the election of Donald Trump cemented that. Like whenever Black people progress, there's a white lash, right? Mm-hmm. And that was the election. So we know that. So we should no longer be surprised by that. We should be prepared for that. So I really think it's really an opportunity to build and be, this just keeps coming to me, brilliantly imaginative. Mm-hmm. We couldn't have imagined, when did Black Lives Matter start? 6 years ago? 5 years ago?
Around Trayvon Martin.
Right. We could have never imagined that my street in Spartanburg, South Carolina, Main Street, would have Black Lives Matter painted down the middle. We could have never imagined 5 years ago that my city would apologize to the Black residents. Now, that's not legislation. The rubber still hasn't met the road. But my point is, those were things that we couldn't imagine. And so it's time. And I think for me, a better word may be expansion.
Those words can coexist. And I think that's also what this moment is about, that like is remembering that coexistence is our truest state, that being interdependent and integrated. And so maybe it's the end of walls. Maybe it's the end of borders. Maybe it's the end of this myth of separation. And in doing that, something you mentioned, Crystal, made me think of this, that really it's a stripping away of the things that have made us less human. We like to think of our modern ways as advancements, but in many ways, they've stripped us of our humanity because the human condition is dependent on its relationship with nature. And all these things have taken us further from feeling connected to the things around us and to the small things, the small micro moments and movements that add up to these macro abilities and opportunities. And so I think what it could be the end of is distractions, right? It could be the end of an illusion of what we are. Absolutely. And honestly, we can and have sustainably lived off the land without cell phones and without banks and without corporate sponsorships and without corporations. Now, I do think, just being realistic, many of us are dependent on that, have grown to be dependent on that system. Absolutely. And hopefully, the hope is that we can revive and we can remind many of us who will have a hard time with the unknown, because the perceived benefit of colonization, the perceived benefit of America is this sort of controlled outcome, right? If I work hard, I will get this thing, right? And it's this perceived outcome. Even when we didn't get the outcome, even when we didn't get the American dream, it was interesting that we were still so conditioned.
Yeah, because
the outcome was
that model.
The structure and a system makes us feel safe. Like even if the system isn't working for us, the fact that there is a system somehow makes us feel such.
And we had to be brutalized into believing it was safe too, right? Because we didn't initially identify it as safe. It has never really aligned with our values of community, with what we value, with nature. Yet we were brutalized into, and then after being brutalized, then it became to voluntarily show up at the school, show up at the job, show up at the thing, because we had been conditioned to follow a certain path that would sort of cement that conditioning. But I do think that that conditioning is also something that, like Crystal was saying, people have come to perceive as safe. The truth is, we don't know what safe is. I don't think we've ever actually experienced it yet.
Yes.
Yeah, safety is a matter of perception, right?
It's relative. Yeah.
Safety is relative. Bravery is something different. Safety is relative. But I'm thinking of Nicole Hannah-Jones and the 1619 Project. And what I got from the 1619 Project is that Black people are the true Americans.
Say that.
We are the people who have held America's feet to the fire of the creed that they created. I see your point about being brutalized into the system, but when I think about my father, when I think about Rashad's grandfather, they believe in it because it can actually happen. But white people are the people in the way
of it happening,
of allowing America
the gatekeepers.
And your family is a great example of what happens when we can maintain our relationship with land. When I think about the people who are not near land, like grew up in cities like me, or who had corporate job options like my parents had.
Well, we had corporate job options too, but that kind of went left. We had to return back to the land. That kind of went left.
I do think that land maintains a sense of pride and of self-dedication.
For my father, land was very much about, it's the thing that God is not going to make any more of. So there is infinite value in this.
I feel this like intently now, being in a place where we actually have some land. I can go outside and just put my feet in the grass, and as far as I can see, it's us, it's ours, right? And that feels safe.
Right. And so my father very much believed in America, but I think Black people believe in it. When I really think about it, it's not that we think America is a lie. Like, we don't think the idea of America is a lie.
Right.
We think white supremacy and white people are lying, and not
about what America is.
About what we think white people are not living up to the creed. White people are not living up to the creed. And that was what was so transformational for me about the 1619 Project, which people are trying to rip apart.
They are.
Right now. But that was what was so transformational to me about that project, because her position really is like the whole idea of this country. We're the people who have believed in it more than anybody else.
Yeah.
Who held that standard. Everything comes back to the civil rights, to making sure Black folks got their rights, and everybody else benefited from that.
It's not lost. 1865 is not lost on me. And then 1965 is not lost on me. 100 years apart, major years. So in my opinion, we're in 2020, right? We're building up to 2065. It's time. And the civil rights movement was 40 years in the making before it catapulted. So we're building up to 2065. And so it's time. And 2020 has been like, ooh, I gave y'all 4 years. I gave y'all 4 years, man. I think it's time. And I'm not going to act like it's not scary.
So then comes, I think, the complexities. And I think we can allow this to be complex, because it very much is. And we can allow those complexities to coexist. That we do this thing sometimes where it's like America, the ideals, versus America, the experience. And the reality is, at the end of the day, a thing is a thing, right? I can say I'm a good parent. And if I am neglecting the needs of my children, if there's the ideal of what I say I am, or what I say I may even want to be. And there's the reality of the lived experience of my children, right? And so I think for people in this moment, there's like the complexity. I see it. I had a conversation with a neighbor. She's older. She's not from here. She's from mid-America. Definitely a different way of life than out here. And having a conversation with her about the complexities of what she feels about this. She grew up around military families. She grew up around people who waved the American flag very proudly. She also was very unconscious of the fact that she grew up around people who all looked like her, and that she never considered that they were living a different American reality than the one.
And she's in Pasadena now.
She's in Pasadena now and living near a Black family who are having a very different experience than what she's having, that I can see her wanting to empathize with. I see her, she knows us, so she knows it's painful, but it's not real to her because it's not her America. And so part of the thing about America being this experiment of multiple experiences, right? You go to France and you're having different experiences, but you all identify as French, right?
Mhm.
So it's like here, there's this really complex identity of anybody can buy into being American if they follow a certain unspoken guideline, which looks very different than the written guideline.
Right.
Part of that guideline is anti-Blackness. I just think like for, as you talk about approaching 2065, that also brings me some pause to sit with, because it's like every 100 years, huh? Like,
well,
That's a whole lifetime.
well, let me say this. When I say approaching 2065, like,
Say it. Say it.
the experiment is done.
mm-hmm,
We have seen the outcome.
mm-hmm.
We had an opportunity in 2016.
And that proved the experiment.
And that proved the experiment.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
So in 2020, what are we voting? Here's the thing. Now listen, let me be clear.
Hold up.
We are voting, people. Okay.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
We are voting. I guess what I'm trying to tease out, right, is at this point, people are voting. It's almost like they're voting to use the lifeboats. Use the lifeboats, right? The ship is sinking. Use the lifeboats.
Yeah.
I'm voting. My decision is how I want to be guided through this transition.
Got you. That's great. I like that.
Mm.
Because there's no going back.
There's no going back, right? Listen,
There's no going back.
there's
You
no
know
going
what
back.
I mean?
And that's what people need to accept. I do think people need to accept, like, the challenge of Trump is also the beauty of Trump, which is he made it impossible for
Ugh.
us to revert back.
Is there another word besides
I can't even
beauty?
believe that was a phrase.
Okay, it's also the unexpected benefit.
The unexpected knowledge.
Right, sure. I mean, because really, you're right. I'll be honest. I just wanted to say this, and I'll say it here publicly because I feel safe. On some superficial shit, I just can't look at him another 4 years. It just
No.
plain.
No.
I saw Kamala the other day, and I was like, I could look at you. I could look at you for 4 years and be like, that'll be like, it's so great to look at you. Looking at this man and just watching his hands.
We got to pause. Hold the thought, because we'll come back.
I want y'all to know, if y'all have never listened to DBM, it goes from deep to shallow real fast.
Because let me tell you something. We cannot move forward, since you brought her up, and not talk about this debate.
This recent debate. Okay, we can pause for the cause.
We're recording the day after the debate.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to say is, I just want to do a little bit of interpretation.
Please.
What I want to say is, I thought, like, in 2016, I was thinking like, God, I wish I had a platform where I could just talk about the election. And I saw all these hot takes and I was like, they just not hitting the Black mama thing.
Right.
And so then when Thea reached out, it was like, hey, you want to be on and talk about the election? I was like, hell no, I don't feel like talking about the election. We ain't having no election episode. I don't feel like doing it. And I thought back to 2016, where I wished that I had a platform. I've actually built a platform, and I did want to take advantage of it. And I was so excited when I was watching the debate last night, not because I thought it was a fantastic debate, but because I was like, this is what I'm talking about. I have a platform where I can go on and break down some of the things that she was saying.
Some of the Black Mama-ish.
I don't think the Black Mamas need it broken down at all.
No, but I have a very diverse following.
She has a different following.
I have a different audience.
My bad.
I wouldn't do this on Black Mamas. Okay, so let me tell you something. I will not sit up here and be lectured about criminal justice.
What I'm not going to do.
That's it. That's the interpretation. What Oakland and Jamaica, because her dad is Jamaican, she's from Oakland, and Howard University wanted to say was, what we not gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because I'm the only one
qualified,
every Black mama is like, oh, you think you know something?
Right.
You think you done been through some stuff?
You gonna tell me?
You gonna try to tell me? Right?
Bet.
And I was elated that I had a place to come to today and share.
Oh, no. Can I do my favorite moment?
Okay, go ahead.
With the neck, right? Here's my other Black mama moment. I mean, yeah, cool. Well, I'm also adding some LA to it. We all doing our
Wait,
thing.
okay, but first you got to give us the line and then the interpretation.
I know it's so hard because the line was actually almost just like this. So y'all should know Oakland and LA are cousins. So it's really hard to separate this out. But it was like, for sure. If Dr. Fauci says we can take the vaccine, we'll take the vaccine. But if Donald Trump says it, I ain't taking that.
No. I ain't gonna be able to do it. I ain't gonna be able to do it.
I ain't gonna be able to do it.
I ain't doing that.
What she wanted to do was the clap. What I cannot do, what I will not do, what I'm not gonna do. Like she wanted to do the clap. It was just
shout out to Stacey Mitchell with all due respect. Cite your sources.
That was sweet.
Nikisha, do you have a Kamala Black Mama moment?
Well, that was it was syrupy sweet right in that moment. It really was. I like both of those. I did. I like the I am speaking. I am still speaking.
I can still speak. That is very Nikisha Killings.
What I like the most about that is that he shut up when she said it. He was like, what do I do with this?
I also want to give a soft shout out to Pete Buttigieg, who has been, and I don't want this to come off wrong because I want to make sure.
What's happening here?
Pete Buttigieg is.
What? Say the name again for me.
Buttigieg? Is that right? Buttigieg?
Something like that.
I don't think that's right, but it's close enough.
Whatever. I'm from the South. Forgive me.
That sounds right to me.
Is going on Fox News.
Yes.
Consistently
showing out
and throwing some of the best shade.
Yeah.
I missed this.
Girl.
Yeah.
Wait, before you, because I do want to, I'm a shade connoisseur. I need to know about this shade. But before you do, I need to make sure we get one more Kamala moment in. That was when Kamala said, you owe somebody money.
Let me explain to you what debt means. You owe somebody.
Now, I just want y'all to understand what that did.
She changed the syllable that the word is accented on.
Listen, and I know about that because I'm the one who invented bitch, I taught them. And that made all the difference in the world. Where you place the emphasis, right? Some of my Shape in the Shift family may not realize I was on Def Poetry with the Fresh Press. But here we go. Y'all are getting a real taste of Dem Black Mamas on Shape in the Shift today.
Your host like you've never seen before.
Right. When she said, you owe somebody money, I really want y'all to understand what that did. In that moment, she unified 99% of the country. You understand? Because 99% of the country knows what that feels like. Wait a minute. They ain't paying taxes? We're the ones they owe the money to. I just want you to know, white, black, brown, yellow, green, polka dot, okay, was the somebody she was referring to in that statement. And I know we all felt it. Y'all didn't want to feel it, but you felt it.
And it's like when you've loaned somebody money and they owe you money and you see them like buying new stuff and you like,
and they're walking around. Yeah.
You owe me money. You owe me money. Or like we have some friends who paid off their student loans. And I was like, oh, that's great. And when Thea and I got back in the car, she was like, I mean, yeah, I would pay off my student loans too if I wasn't paying taxes. And I was like, oh, they're not paying taxes?
Did I say that?
Yeah, you do not play when people don't pay. When people don't pay taxes,
I pay them.
You'd be like, you're not paying taxes?
Because I pay them. I mean, unless you're in one of them states that don't pay taxes. But, and I shout out to you. You win and smart choice. But tell me about Pete's shade, because I missed that.
Girl.
Shout out to Florida. No state tax.
Shout out to Florida. Real
Florida
time.
don't state taxes?
The one thing we got right.
They don't have state tax. But your bankruptcy law is banging too, though.
Your bankruptcy law is banging.
That is good to know.
Your bankruptcy law is banging.
Hadn't explored that.
A lot of artists got property in Florida for that reason, because the bankruptcy law is banging. Well, it used to be. I don't know if they changed it. But Pete Buttigieg is going on Fox News throwing the best shade. So he was asked about Kamala's difference in Medicare for all, that she differed from Joe Biden, right? And Pete said, okay, we can talk about that. We can talk about presidential candidates differing from their VP choice. Like we can talk about Mike Pence as a Christian evangelical who is the running mate of a man who's been caught with a porn star. So we can talk about
we can do that.
The differences
all day.
I just fell in love.
And they were speechless. Did you see the commentators, Chrissy? Did you see them? They were like,
I need to see
this. Yeah. And he's going on there on a consistent basis. And let me tell you why it's good shade. He doesn't get upset. It's even keel.
Straight face.
It's straight face. It's energy. Like, it's straight energy. I don't know. I think he has a black shade coach. I'm not sure. I can't.
Let me think. I have to look at the type of shade.
Good. If you need one, I can be hired, Pete.
I have to look at the type of shade to determine, because different groups shade different ways. So but that is smooth.
Yeah, we'll have the links. We'll have the links to the show.
That feels Black womanish to me, though. That feels like we can talk about that. Let's go here.
It's good. It's good.
I think he actually said, we can play that game. We can play that game.
He's like, we can play that game.
That feels Black. That does feel Black. That might be a black shade coach.
We can play that game.
That could be. So with that being said, that's part of what I really wanted to ask you all, because I'm sure at the point that this comes on, the election will be like less than a week away. So I know. Deep breaths, fed.
My blood pressure just went up.
I'm going to vote on Friday.
My stomach hurt. My stomach hurt.
Friday. I'm going to vote on Friday.
I just don't trust them to get it right. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I don't trust folks.
We can vote in person.
Oh, starting Friday.
I don't trust the 53%.
We'll get there. Because that's got
okay.
Okay. I wanted to know, what are your reliable sources of information right now? Because Russia. Not just Russia, I'm teasing, but like Russia for real, but other stuff, right? And so really, I think what's overwhelming people, and part of this strategy for overwhelming people, is to like get them so disoriented that they can't feel what their truth is when they hear it from the person that they may want to vote for. They can't even feel it because they're so disoriented. So what are some of your reliable, trustworthy, and now let me tell y'all something. These two, before there was such a thing as cyber stalking, these two knew how to get to the bottom of some crystal.
A cyber stalker. I'm not. Cyber stalker.
You wouldn't stalk people, but you're a researcher. You're a cyber researcher.
Okay.
But let's say there was a story about a politician.
Oh, and it's got text messages? Oh, you know I'm getting them text messages.
See what I'm saying? That's why I feel like these two could give y'all reliable information.
Well,
about
I'm going to disappoint you today, my friend.
Oh, my God.
I'm not.
Oh, my God. I got set up. Did y'all see
You want to know who I'm getting them from?
Who
I'm getting Omarosa.
Oh, snap. You know what?
She said Trump was positive a whole day before he did. She knew it. She was like, let me interpret this. He positive. Boom. Take that to the bank. And she was right.
She was right. I did read her book, though.
A bitch be knowing. Chris, don't make that face. Y'all need to see the face. I don't care.
I'm making the Michael Scott uncomfortable face.
I know. We are in times where truth could come from anywhere.
It can. And she just is petty enough that she is spilling all that she knows.
I mean, of course, a reliable source is NPR, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's be real. Who at this point is undecided and looking for truth?
I was trying to figure out what that
I
felt.
feel like
I don't understand.
If you undecided, you just trying to find a reason to vote for Trump at this point.
Or you just want to be Spash Show and get 42.
That's something ain't right.
You may be undecided in either I'm going to vote for Biden or I'm not going to vote at all. And at this point, the episode, just listen to the last 20 minutes of episode 35 of Dem Black Mamas and get your life. That's all I can tell you on that. But at this point, I don't even really know if people are looking for, like, you're not undecided at this point.
Yeah.
I was going to say this earlier. Sorry, Christy. I had a post on my Instagram to say that when were you, or how old were you when you realized that your neighbor lived a completely different experience than you did?
Mm-hmm.
Same school, same city, whatever, had a completely different real lived experience than you. And a lot of folks commented like this year. Or in my 20s or 30s. People are living just like Thea said, Thea's neighbor. They live in these silos, these echo chambers. They have no idea what the other side is experiencing, or they're ignoring it. I mean, there's also cognitive dissonance. Whatever it is, they have made up their mind who they're voting for based on whatever their truth is. And there's no indecision at this point.
Well, here's the gem. I was watching Agents of Chaos. Trust me, I was not seeking that out. My husband makes me stay what he considers to be informed. However, it was this documentary really about Russian interference, right? We have to talk about all the things right now. We have to.
Yeah.
And so one of the things it talks about is how they just know what our big issues are here.
Right. And they use Black Lives. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They definitely feed us through social media. And if you combine Agents of Chaos with The Social Dilemma, which is a documentary on Netflix, you see how using the culture and the mechanisms of social media.
Time, attention, energy.
To target. And so then you start to say, well, I'm being played like this person's being played.
Yes.
But you still feel like, legit. Here's the thing, even knowing that, I still feel like, yes, okay, that is happening. And so there's some news I filter. At the end of the day, I'm still right about racism being fucked up.
Right.
It is what it is.
I think what you have to do is not look for a news source or a political source. You have to look to, I don't think that I'm a cultural predictor. I think I know a lot of history. And I can see patterns. Mm-hmm. That's what I think. And so I think you need to look for historical sources. Because if you can see the historical sources, if you know the history, that teaches you the system and institution and how it runs. And then you're able to decipher and interpret information in a different way.
Let me ask you about that. I'm trying to remember who I was speaking with the other day. But in this conversation, they were like, we've dealt with the pandemic. We've dealt with the Civil War. We've dealt with things. This is a bit of a trifecta, period.
No, it is.
So we can look back and see, oh, this is what people did during the pandemic. We can look back and see this is what people did during the Civil War. But having multiple things happening at the same time, I don't know if we have a framework for this moment.
Right. I'm not saying look at history to help you get through this moment. I'm saying look at history so that you can understand the systems and institutions that are at play in this moment and how they're operating and the impact that a trifecta can have on them. Because I feel like if you understand, because history tells how the system was built, right? And so then you'll know how a pandemic, how a racial uprising, the impact that those things can have, the impact of those things simultaneously happening can have on the systems and institutions that we operate in. For example, all of a sudden, public education is a godsend. Public education in 2020 is the best thing going. God bless our teachers. We have to be concerned about these underserved communities that kids live in because they need to get educated, right? All of a sudden, that's a top issue in 2020. Well, if you understand the history of America and the history of capitalism, America is built on capitalism. Fragile, but built on capitalism, right? Then you understand that whatever system or institution that America builds, it has to be able to fit into capitalism.
Yeah.
So
even education.
What I realized this year from looking at history is that education is a tool of capitalism. It has become, now that wasn't Horace Mann's intention when he started the public education system, but it has morphed into a tool of capitalism. And that's the only reason that they want these kids back in school, is so that capitalism can continue to go. So it's not necessarily that it'll tell you how to handle the moment, but history can give you clarity about what the moment is and how things are being impacted.
I would agree. You have to be a student of history to have perspective on what's happening now. Full stop. Full stop. Unfortunately, most of us are not. Right? Mm-hmm. So people are going through their myopic view of what they're seeing wherever they are in their neighborhood with their family. And it is completely filtered through their own experiences. And it doesn't have any context.
And if you're dependent on local news as a source.
No. So for me, it's NPR. I watch debates and such on C-SPAN because I don't need to hear somebody else's interpretation of what was said.
You know, I watch C-SPAN just cause, on a regular.
Yeah. And then afterward, they interview people on both sides and you get to hear really what America's thinking out there.
Or the committee meetings. I watch the committee meetings like.
Because it's just the facts.
It's just the facts.
Showing you what's happening.
Just the facts. So C-SPAN and definitely NPR. But honestly, I'm really not into sources right now and seeing what sources is right. People, get your sources together. Only read reputable newspapers, whatever that means. And watch, I don't know. Anyway. But what I am doing is I am watching white women.
I need another drink.
I am watching white women right now because to me, that is a source of information about how it's all going to go down on November 3rd.
What are they saying? What are you seeing? What are you seeing?
Well, I'm seeing some very interesting trends, Nikisha. Thank you so much for asking, boo.
I don't like how your voice went up.
I don't know if
I don't like how your voice went up. But here we go. I'm here for the ride. I knew what I did. I knew what I brought to the table.
And then I have something else about sources. So what I am seeing, and this is purely anecdotal, you know what I'm saying? But what I am seeing is more white women, I would say, on the front lines, which again, if we go back to the history of capitalism, has triggered these corporations to say Black Lives Matter, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I am seeing that. That's a little different from 2016. So I think when we didn't show up to the march in 2017, and we was like, y'all don't ever show up to the Black Lives Matter march, I think that kicked in this time, and so they learned. I am also seeing that white women are finding a mutual interest in the progress. I'll give you an example. So if we talk about affirmative action, right? The biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action are white women, right? But when people talk about affirmative action, the face of it is Black people, right? But the biggest beneficiaries are white women. And so I think they're seeing some interest convergence. Like if these people can pass this, you know what I'm saying? If they can get through these walls and build some new systems, build some new institutions, then
that would be mutually beneficial.
That would be mutually beneficial. You feel me? Because if Black women rise, we all rise, right?
Well, yes.
What does that mean to something like the prison industrial complex? Like, what do white women have vested in seeing that fall?
I don't think that that's what they're invested in. Like, they not on the front lines of that.
Okay, but there are enough pieces of it that benefit them, so they can.
There are enough pieces. I was watching it, and last night in a group that I'm in, we had a discussion on the podcast "Nice White Parents," and I was seeing it, and one of the women in there gave me the language, and it's called interest convergence, right?
It was actually, that phrase is coined by.
She gave the name of the person, but I can't remember. Which is not a good thing. It's not necessarily a good thing, but I think...
It's a man. I'll check, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that that's the thing that I'm seeing that white women are doing right now. So I'm really watching white women, because I wasn't watching white women in 2016, because I thought Pantsuit Nation. So I really wasn't paying attention to them. The other thing, though, in terms of resources, I'm also looking at voter education resources. I think that is critical right now. Voter education is critical right now. Instead of trying to get these former Republicans to come vote for us, we need to vote for the Democrats. We need to, not we, because I'm not a Democrat, but they need to do more voter education for voters, because lawsuits are happening. Things are changing so fast. And so I'm looking at voter education resources. And one of the women in our moms group has created what I think is a great Get Out the Vote campaign and a great voter education resource. It's called, wait for it. Are you ready? It's so Black.
I'm ready.
Get Your Cousins.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Get your cousins and get to the polls.
Yes. So
not to be confused with get your
booty to the polls.
I was going to talk about get your booty to the polls next. I was going to talk about that next. But I think that things like that are, to me, critical, because if you're undecided at this point, Thea, I just don't have no resources for them. I just don't have it.
I know people.
What's this going to take?
We only want you to give, here at Shaping the Shift, we only want you to give what you can give with authenticity.
I don't have to.
That's
give.
fine.
But what I do have is, if you want to vote and you don't know where to go, you need voter education, then I think those resources are critical right now, because things are changing on such a daily basis. And it's how we vote. It's how we move. We move collectively. Black people move collectively. And so I think that that's a great resource, because it's like a cousins challenge. So I think things like that need to be amplified more. I don't have no resources.
I have shared that with my cousins for real. And they were all like, I did it. There was some excitement in our little cousins Facebook group. So I love that approach.
I'm sorry, boo.
I do want to say too, there's a lot of grassroots organization and people on the ground that I do trust. Like if they're telling me to vote, I'm going to vote, right? So I know that we get all kind of misinformation.
Yeah.
It's very intentional. We can be taught to really downplay our vote. For Black people in particular, King spoke about this, where we are situated around the country makes us even more of a political power. And so what we can make up for in social capital that we don't have due to anti-Blackness, we have some political power in these moments. And so there are groups like the Electoral Justice Project, which are Black women-led grassroots organizations that are saying, please go vote. And one thing, like I think sometimes we will tell younger people, our ancestors fought for this, and they feel a little detached from that sometimes. But even currently, our people are fighting. People from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, people from marginalized backgrounds are out there every day canvassing. And so think about the fact that like, it must be very important if people are willing to, one, put that much heart into making sure your rights are protected, but also two, have that much fear of your vote, that they would go to such extreme measures to suppress it. And so those two things, if nothing else, let those things give you, we can get caught up in who the vote is cast for. And really it's about exercising rights that people are actively fighting to protect for us.
I have seen the most radical activists who never tell people to vote, who they vote, but if somebody said they're not voting, they're like, okay, well, I mean, you know, that's their right. And I have seen them say, listen.
Yeah. I think it goes back to what you said, Crystal.
It's not business as usual.
What you said, who can lead us through this transition? Because we've established early in this episode, it is not business as usual, and it's not going to be. So we have to think about who has the flexibility, the adaptability, who has the compassion and the empathy to help us shape what this thing is next. Because it's almost like,
who has the capacity to
help us shape this shift? Because at this point, American democracy specifically is like worn out panties. Sometimes we get caught in our ways, and even when the elastic has even when it don't hug us the same,
I'm with you.
Even when like you feel like your pants is holding up your drawers. Your pants might be holding up your drawers. We still hold on. We don't throw them things away and invest in a new pair, right?
Oh, I'm with you. Okay, so let's
you
riff
feel
on
it
this.
now.
Let's
You see where I feel it. Let's riff on this.
It's like holding on to the mascara and it ain't no more there.
Yeah, it's caked up.
And shout out to you, Thea, because I used this reference the other day in an IG Live. It's like on Jason's lyric, when lyric was like, Jason, I'm trying to love you, but I don't want to get my heart broken. And I will, because you keep trying to save a brother that don't want to be saved. Yes. America is hell-bent on not being saved.
Yes.
And so maybe we go pack our suitcase and get on the bus like Jada.
It's just the elasticity of this lie.
Yeah.
The lie.
It can't,
worn out. Yeah. We have worn a hole in it.
And even Jason and Lyric, in the end, they had to get on the bus and get out. You see what I'm saying?
They had to get out.
They had to get out.
There's so much symbolism here, y'all. And so what I'm saying about that is, who do you feel is most capable
of getting you new panties?
Of helping you to find some new draws, right? Like, do you want it to be the rapist, narcissist, crazy person? Actually, I don't want it to be Joe Biden either, but I would go panty shopping with Kamala.
Okay, low key, I go with Pence because I think that he is.
Forget that. Wait.
I think he's low key a freak. I do. I think he's low key a freak.
Oh God! I would just like to speak on behalf of those who go pantyless. Go pantyless.
I'm with you, my sister.
Just be free.
We could also. That's also an option, though. Who can help guide us towards be more comfortable with our bodies, so that we can just have no panties? Who says we need panties? This election is deep. We wanted to bring you to a place where you could see all of your options, from the apocalypse to lingerie. And I feel like you two were the only people I could bring on to actually do this. We did that. I'm going to pause here because
nobody else thinks Mike Pence is low-key a freak. I'm the only one.
I'm leaving you.
He calls her mother. Come on, people. Nobody else.
Not in a good way. Not in a good way.
I mean, he's undercover. He's ashamed of it, but it's going down.
You want him walking behind you
in a weird fetish type of.
I'm saying, of course, I would go with, because I was having, because in the South we was saying Kamala, but it's Kamala.
It's Kamala.
Kamala. Of course, I would go with her, but I'm saying, I think he would pick out some stuff.
These things can coexist, but not on November 3rd.
Okay. No, I agree. On November 3rd, I'm going with...
She's going panty shopping with Kamala.
With Kamala.
I can't.
With Kamala.
I feel like he would try to steal my panties and wear them.
He would. Totally.
That's not helpful.
With the whip and handcuffs.
I'm not trying to yuck your yum, but that ain't it.
Listen, all those things are completely valid. The question is, at this day and time, is that the person you'd want to give consent to
right. I couldn't go because he's undercover. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Well,
okay.
Yes. Okay.
We need somebody living their truth.
We're going to shift shapers. We're going to shift.
We need to do something. Help.
I want to...
Lifeline.
I'm debating right now because I don't know what I'm going to do. Okay. This is what I'm going to do to pull it together. I'm going to ask our guests from Dem Black Mamas podcast. So if you've enjoyed this, you just got a mild taste of what Dem Black Mamas is like. And make sure if you haven't followed Dem Black Mamas, you do, because there's so much.
Who listening to Shamey the Chef ain't followed Dem Black Mamas? What's wrong with y'all?
I don't know. But I just want to leave space for that to happen. So right now, what we're going to do is I need a song that's your go-to song that people can play on their way to vote. Like in line to vote.
That wasn't
the question I was prepared for.
I switched it up.
That wasn't the question I was prepared for.
I reserved the right as the host of Shape of the Shift podcast. We are not in Kansas anymore. We are not.
I was not prepared for that question.
Listen, you got to stay on your toes.
Let me go through my playlist right quick.
Black Parade.
Ooh, that's a great one, y'all.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that.
That's good. I could listen to that.
Mm-hmm.
I could listen to that while waiting to vote. That's a good one. This is really special. These is going to go up on our social media because it's important. We need a While You Wait in Line playlist. Do you guys want to do a mashup of that? A DBM Shape and Shift?
Okay.
While You Wait?
I have two. It's a tie.
Okay, I'm ready. Uh-oh.
My first one is Let's Go by Trick Daddy, Big D, and Twista.
Oh.
I don't know. Can you play a little bit of that?
What? You don't know Let's Go? Here we go.
Oh, I do know that one. Okay, y'all. She's right. That one will get you going. That one, you're right. Okay, we could pause it for Juan's sake. For Juan's sake, we'll pause it. Okay. And what's the second one?
That can be hype.
Okay. She's still bumping you.
Okay, my other one is, hold on. My second one is Paramedic from the Black Panther soundtrack. I wish a nigga would. I wish a nigga would. Y'all don't know that song?
Oh. You know, Crystal, you are really more advanced. You listen to so much.
Saying that I
get this. He from LA. You can totally tell he's from LA. Listen to me. Hey.
Oh, I can feel the LA though. I can feel the LA in it. Bop, 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 bop. Okay, you're right, Crystal. You're right. So Crystal's gonna have you bouncing in line.
She is. I'm gonna have you marching with your fists in the air.
That's right. Okay, let me think. Crystal, can I pick a song?
Hold on, I want to get to the chorus.
Okay, hold on. Juan is gonna kill me.
Oh, is Juan not gonna play the chorus? Okay.
I don't know if Juan's gonna. Juan, I appreciate you, and I already know. You don't have to explain what you're gonna have to do.
Go ahead, Thea. Go ahead.
Okay, that is, and you also know when I hear a dope beat, I get distracted, Crystal. This is just so unfair.
Oh, here's the chorus. Oh. Hey.
If y'all could see her face.
Hey. Come on.
If you could see her face right now.
I wish a nigga would try to stop me from voting. You could go so many ways. I wish a nigga would try to stop me from voting.
There's that. What are the other ways? You mentioned
I got right now.
Okay, you mentioned Mo. Okay. And then the Keisha shoulders are bouncing. That's my
song.
I think what is the Keisha bumping? Okay, now this is turning into a full on.
Let me know.
This
That's
is
so
turned into
hype,
a
man.
full
Okay.
election playlist party. But you know what?
Okay, what are your songs? What are your
Come on,
songs?
come on. You know
what?
you want that motherland drip on you. You want
I
that
do.
motherland drip.
I do want the motherland drip. I do think
Come on.
I will be listening to Beyonce's Freedom and
Yes.
Power off the Black is King.
Am I the
Lion
only
King.
one with ratchet ass songs?
Yes.
You typically are.
I thought you were going to say my power, Crystal. I thought that was where you going to go with that.
You'll never take my power.
See,
my power.
Power.
When
My
I think
power.
about going to vote, I think about like,
That song's perfect for
Trick
it.
Daddy.
I am going, I got to get me something to deal with these white people.
No, I think
So-
that's okay.
It's like, let's go. If you want it, you can get it. Let me know.
Okay.
Like I'm confronting the system.
I don't even think it's the subject matter. Your first answer is always a ratchet song.
This is true.
I don't think it's the subject matter. I don't think you know a ratchet song for damn near every occasion. I could say wedding. What's your ratchet song for a wedding?
I don't think I have a ratchet song.
Oh, you got one.
Oh, you
I
got
don't think
one.
I
You
have
do.
one.
You do.
Not for the ceremony. For the ceremony,
For
no.
the
I don't have a ratchet
reception.
one for the reception. I mean, it'll probably be my birthday playlist. So
There
yeah,
you
it's
go.
Okay,
pretty
so you
ratchet.
see what I'm saying? You see what I'm
It's
There you
pretty
go.
ratchet. It's pretty ratchet.
You mentioned history.
Yes.
Do you all have a book that you think people could try to read? Because we have some time and people are going to be anxious. This may be a great activity for them to do on election day after they voted.
Agreed.
You have a book or a podcast suggestion that you would think that could keep them centered and calm during that day?
I have both.
Mm-mm.
The Integrated Schools podcast is.
You think that'll keep them calm?
That would keep them centered and calm.
Oh no, not centered and calm. No,
Yeah.
not centered and calm. Oh, I do have one that'll keep them centered and calm.
A book?
It's a podcast.
Okay, it's a podcast. Nikisha, I see you Googling.
No, I'm not. I'm writing. Black creativity probably would be. I really love that right now.
Is that a book or podcast?
It's a book. Is it? Wait, no. Is it Black Imagination?
Black Imagination.
Black Imagination. That's the book.
Who's the author?
It's just beautiful poetry by lots of us. I don't know.
Oh, that's
Yeah, it's a lot of different.
See, that's good. Like stuff. Yeah, maybe we should think of artists or poets or that they can engage the day of.
So we want things to keep them, like a book that'll keep them calm.
Or some other art.
About the day of. Maybe it's a speech or maybe it's poetry by someone.
Oh,
Something that keeps them rooted. Or it could be something that expands imagination, like you were talking about before. Maybe some Octavia Butler.
Mm.
well, a speech that I always listen to on election day. I listen to a lot of speeches by Dr. King because
Yeah,
I think
I do too.
about where he was positioned. I mean, now he's been sort of chiseled into I don't know what, but I think about where he was positioned and where I'm positioned. And so listening to those speeches give me a lot of hope. I mean, especially his final speech was just so, that speech always gives me a lot of hope. I can't think of anything that keep people calm on election day.
No, but that's good. No. Hope
Yeah.
is good. I do think like going back to the intention that you set at the beginning about like bridging imagination and history, I think that's a great strategy and a great solution. Really, Shift Shapers, what we want you to know is like, even if this is the end of something is immediately followed by the beginning of something. And so we hope we gave you some laughs and some things to think about so that that day and just approaching that day doesn't feel completely like the end. And if it is the end, it's a necessary end, but that it also feels like the beginning of something.
Yeah, I love that. You all actually shifted my mindset in that. I started out with doom and gloom, so I appreciate y'all as always.
I have a podcast suggestion.
What you got?
And I don't want to hear any
Oh, here we go.
things about this podcast when I tell you what it is. Hold on here. So it's called The Turn On.
You know what? I can always count on
This
you.
podcast, let me read you the description. Are you ready? The Turn On is a podcast for Black people who want to get off, to open their minds, to learn, to be a part of a community, to show that we love and have sex too. And it doesn't have to be political or scandalous or dirty unless we want it to be. Join us each week as we read a sexy piece of Black erotica, chop it up with the mind behind the literature, give y'all way too much information about our sex lives, and share some tips and tricks you might want to incorporate the next time you get it in. Your hosts are Erica and, she messed me up right here. Inraya, I don't know. Curious, hilarious, direct, Black best friends who love to have sex and read about sex and learn about sex and would rather give up our vibrators than yuck someone else's yum. We'll explore all facets of sexuality, from kink to masturbation to sex work to having orgasms while disabled. Our lens for the show is sex. And because we know that sex is never just about sex, every time you tune in, we'll turn you on and teach you something you can use to get off.
What a great resource.
It's a great podcast.
What is it called? The Get Off?
The Turn On.
The Turn. Oh, sorry, my bad.
It's the opposite, boo. It's not off. It's on.
Hey, I was saying they're trying to get off too.
No, it's a really, really great podcast. I'm hoping to do a collaboration with them on Dem
That would be amazing.
Because they're moms too. So
that's so good. Thank you.
It's a really, really good podcast.
Thank you for bringing pleasure, because that's something that we're very into here. Thank you so much.
That would make for a very different voting experience altogether.
It will also. Yeah, it will be empowering though. But I really appreciate y'all for bringing my master dreams come true. We are. We're ending because
I didn't get all my stuff in about white women, but okay.
But you can get your stuff in about where people can find your stuff.
She has notes.
And Nikisha's stuff, so that y'all can shine for a moment with our Shape and Shift audience. So, Nikisha, Aha Moment Maven, tell them where they can find you and what you have coming down the pipe.
Is the Aha Moment Maven, or at Aha Moment Maven on IG, and just first and that last name, Nikisha Killings on Facebook. You can find me in those places. I am working on some new lectures regarding keeping folks honest in terms of anti-racist lactation practices. That'll be coming up. I have one coming up later this month with Annie Frisbee. And what else? Just stay tuned. There's a lot more coming from the Aha Moment Maven.
Yay! And Crystal Tennille Irby, where can they find you?
So I just want to say, just make sure you get out and vote, because white women are the constant gardeners of white supremacy. So we cannot trust these polls if they're telling us that the majority of white women are going to vote for Joe Biden. We have to do the work ourselves. So just get out and vote. And the other part of that is, if you're looking for a guide through this transition of how we can create new ways of being, look to Jackson, Mississippi. It's really a blueprint.
The book is called Jackson Rising, right?
The book is called Jackson Rising. It's really, really, really dense, but it's really, really a blueprint. So I just wanted to get that in right quick. So I'm talking
You did
fast.
that. I love it. So, look how you did that. You were slick about it.
So in November, I will be doing a workshop on writing your personal statement or artist statement. I give you a formula about how you can write that statement effectively. So that's coming up in November.
I did your last one, though. It was amazing. It's amazing. People
Thank you, boo. Can I get you to just write that in a little comment or just do a little voice thing and send that to me so I can promote? Thank you. And you can find me at Crystal Tennille Irby. That's Tennille with 2 N's. Crystal is spelled the white way, so that's with a C-R-Y. And Crystal Tennille Irby on Instagram. That's really where I am mostly. I'm on Twitter, but I'm really on Instagram. Follow Dem Black Mamas.
Yes.
I have a program called Writers Well Youth Fellowship. You can follow that on Instagram as well. It's for Black girls ages 14 to 19 in South Carolina who are interested in writing and performing. We are doing a COVID cohort for Black girls, femmes, and gender expansive youth who are seniors in high school in the Southeast or college freshmen. It's a COVID cohort, and we're guiding them through this time because they kind of missed out on the traditional experience. So that's Writers Well Youth Fellowship on Insta. And just pray for me, y'all, because I'm writing the script right now, and it's just a little bit more difficult than I anticipated. But I got to have it done.
You got this. We got to tell our stories.
So y'all just...
You got this.
Y'all just pray for me on that.
We got you. We have to document our stories And yes to all the resources. Yes to Writers Well. I loved working with Writers Well. I will be a part of the COVID cohort. So it's a really, really amazing program with amazing people. And you all will love the work that they're doing. As always, you
abolish
can
the
find
Electoral College. We didn't talk about it. Abolish the Electoral College.
Also
I just wanted to put that out there.
You know, we were just trying to give people some tangible things.
I'm just trying to like slip it in.
I got you. Abolish you. And get the money out of
For
politics.
someone who didn't want to have an election episode, we seem to.
Right. Get the money out of politics. You always know where to find us. We'll be shift shaping at www.shapingtheshift.com. You can follow us on IG at Shaping the Shift. We are also partnering with our mother company, Marley Ayo, on the Blacker the Brain, an effort to decolonize mental health in Black bodies. So you can follow that and look at ways that you can contribute. For our shift shapers, as always, for $9 a month, you can contribute to the maintenance and the expansion of this love offering that we are giving through our Patreon. All that can be found on Shaping the Shift. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm so excited about this. Yeah, I'm really excited about the graphics too. I just must say that I think they're going to be amazing. But also, I really feel better about going into this election after the episode. And I knew that I would after I sat and talked it out with people who, these are the people I'm texting when crazy stuff is happening on the news. So I hope you listeners loved and appreciated. Follow these ladies. The work that they're doing is absolutely transformational. If you haven't followed Dem Black Mamas, you're in for such a treat because you get to now binge it. And right now, everybody's looking for something bingey. So as always,
it's binge worthy for sure.
It's binge worthy for sure. As always, though, we wish you the best. We feel like you have all the power and are uniquely qualified to shape this shift as we speak. Y'all have a good day.
Hashtag they're coming for you.
Hashtag they're coming for you. Okay, bye. Until next time, shift shapers, I'm going to tell you like my mama always told me.
And if you learn to go with the change as opposed to resisting the change, the reward is at the end.